Step back millions of years into a world where survival was the only law, family bonds were sacred, and every day was a battle against nature itself. This is the story of early life, raw, relentless, and profoundly human in its struggle to endure. Beneath the sprawling canopies of an untouched, ancient world, survival was not just instinct. It was a symphony of senses honed by fear, necessity, and hope. The air shimmered with the heat of the sun, carrying the scent of wild herbs and the distant roar of predators. Among the twisted roots and sacred stones of a forgotten civilization, life demanded courage and cunning, and every heartbeat was a fragile triumph against oblivion. In this primeval realm, there lived two souls whose fates were entwined by the subtle threads of destiny. One was a healer, a guardian of life with hands that could soothe pain and whisper vitality into the frailest of bodies. The other was a warrior, a protector whose strength and skill were unmatched, yet whose heart longed for something beyond the clashing of weapons and the demands of survival. They met beneath the silver glow of a star-strewn night, where firelight danced against the sacred walls of a temple long abandoned by time. In that fleeting moment, a spark leapt between them, a silent recognition, as if their souls remembered each other from lifetimes they had never lived. But survival in this ancient world was merciless. Hunger gnawed at the edges of existence, storms tore through the forests with ferocity, and the relentless march of predators left no room for hesitation. The healer, tender and deliberate, moved among the wounded and the weak, offering her knowledge of plants and potions, her hands steady even as the world around her trembled with danger. The warrior, driven by instinct and honor, patrolled the perimeters, his senses attuned to the slightest shift in the wind, the softest snap of a twig betraying a lurking threat. Together, they learned that love in such a place was not merely an emotion. It was survival itself, a bond that strengthened resilience and ignited courage. Yet destiny is rarely kind to those who defy its warnings. Whispers among the elders spoke of a love that would bring both salvation and ruin. And indeed, the union of the healer and the warrior became both a shield and a tempest. Their passion, profound and magnetic, drew enemies and misfortune alike. Fires consumed villages, rivers swelled and drowned the unprepared, and the heavens themselves seemed to mourn the fragile balance between life and desire. And through it all, they clung to one another, knowing that even if the world sought to undo them, the essence of their connection was eternal. 1,000 lifetimes later, the echoes of that struggle and devotion whispered through the corridors of time. In the modern world, two strangers wandered through bustling streets and quiet cafes, each feeling a pull they could not name, a debut that tugged at the corners of their consciousness. Dreams unfolded at night like fragile tapestries, visions of sacred flames, the soft murmur of wind through temple ruins, the gentle pressure of a hand on their own, the weight of eyes that had always known them. They saw the warrior's strength mirrored in a protective instinct toward the world, and the healer's calm radiance reflected in gestures of compassion that defied explanation. Every encounter between them was laced with recognition. A brush of hands in a crowded subway, a shared glance at a museum painting, a whispered word in a cafe that seemed to echo a conversation from centuries past. Each moment was imbued with the resonance of survival, the same fierce, delicate energy that had bound their ancestors. And in this strange, modern wilderness of concrete and noise, they learned that love was not about possession or urgency. It was about remembrance, the quiet acknowledgement that souls once lost to time could find each other again. Under starry nights, and amidst the hum of the city, they traced the contours of their ancient memories, weaving past and present into a living tapestry. The warrior's courage became a shared strength, the healer's wisdom a guiding light, and together they navigated the challenges of the modern world with the same resilience that had kept them alive in the forests of a forgotten civilization. Through every trial, they understood that survival was not just physical endurance. It was the survival of the heart, the persistence of the soul across time, and the sacred duty of remembering who we truly are. In the end, the story of survival millions of years ago was not just a tale of hardship. It was a testament to love, courage, and the indomitable spirit that threads through every life. It whispered that every soul encounter, every struggle, every heartbeat against adversity is a note in the eternal melody of existence. And as the wind carried soft whispers through the modern streets, it reminded them, and us, that the past is never truly gone and love, once found, can never be lost. In the ancient world, family was not merely a social construct. It was the fragile thread that wove life together amidst the chaos of survival. Every sunrise brought new dangers, predators prowling the dense forests, storms that could sweep away entire settlements, and rival clans whose eyes glimmered with hunger and envy. In such a world, the bonds of kinship were not optional. They were sacred, a living shield that gave meaning and purpose to existence. The healer and the warrior, though lovers, understood that love alone could not protect them. Survival demanded trust, cooperation, and the nurturing of a larger family. The children of the village, the elders who guided them, and the warriors who fought by their side. Under the vast expanse of starry skies, they tended to the sick and injured, shared food gathered from perilous hunts, and whispered prayers into the night winds. Every act of care, every shared burden, strengthened not only their community but their connection, a bond that transcended mere desire and touched something eternal. In the quiet hours before dawn, the healer would kneel beside the fire, her hands tracing the outlines of sacred herbs, murmuring invocations learned from generations past. The warrior would watch over the sleeping village, his spear at the ready, eyes scanning the shadows for threats unseen. And in these moments, the weight of responsibility was softened by the unspoken truth that their love was a vessel of protection, a force that could hold the fragile threads of life together against the relentless forces of the world. It was here, in the crucible of shared struggle, that they discovered a deeper, more enduring truth. Love is not possession, it is presence. Yet fate, as it always does, tested them. A marauding clan struck in the dead of night, their intentions ruthless and unyielding. Families scattered, screams echoed, and flames licked the night sky. The healer, guided by instinct and love, moved through the chaos, her hands steady as she lifted the injured and led the vulnerable to hidden refuges. The warrior became a tempest, his every strike a shield for the lives entrusted to him, each heartbeat synchronized with the cries of those he vowed to protect. Together, they embodied the essence of family, not just the one formed by blood, but the one chosen through courage, sacrifice, and devotion. Thousands of lifetimes later, echoes of those moments resonate still. In the modern world, family has shifted from the immediate struggle for survival to the subtler, quieter battles of the heart, the pressures of work, the fracturing of relationships, the longing for connection in an often lonely society. And yet, the lessons of the ancient past remain. Two strangers, drawn together by invisible threads, sense the presence of a shared soul history. They feel it in the simple acts, a hand offered when one is weary, a word of reassurance when fear surfaces, the silent acknowledgement that their bond is larger than circumstance. These echoes of ancient family values, the protection of one another, the nurturing of each other's growth, the sacredness of shared life, manifest in ways both small and profound. There are nights when the modern world fades, and they drift into dreams that feel like memory rather than fantasy. They see the healer kneeling by sacred flames, offering comfort to those in pain, and the warrior standing vigilant, a beacon of strength. The faces of children and elders blur into a tapestry of life sustained by care and devotion. And though the centuries separate them, they recognize in one another the same sacred calling to nurture, to protect, to create a sanctuary in the midst of chaos. Family, they realize, is not defined by bloodlines alone, but by the depth of care and the courage to stand together in the face of life's storms. In the quiet moments of reality, the shared coffee, the lingering glances, the whispered confessions, they understand that their connection mirrors the ancient lessons of survival. It is in the small, consistent acts of devotion that love persists, in the courage to be present, even when the world seems indifferent, that bonds are forged. They carry with them the knowledge that a true family is both a refuge and a force, a living testament to the resilience of the heart and the soul's capacity for remembrance. The sacred flame that once lit a temple in a forgotten civilization now burns softly in the depths of their consciousness, illuminating the timeless truth that love is not about possession, control, or conquest. It is about presence, memory, and devotion. It is about nurturing one another's light even in the darkness, and standing as guardians for the fragile, beautiful lives entrusted to them. And as the wind whispers through the streets of the modern city, carrying echoes of ancient forests and distant temples, they understand. Family is the heartbeat of survival, and survival is the canvas upon which love paints its eternal story. In the end, the journey of these two souls across lifetimes reveals a profound insight. The essence of life is not merely to endure, but to protect, to care, and to remember. Family, in all its forms, becomes the bridge across time, binding souls with threads invisible yet unbreakable. And in that recognition, they, and we, discover the deepest wisdom of existence, that love, once fully lived and remembered, transcends all epochs, guiding the soul through every lifetime, every struggle, and every act of survival. Through the shifting sands of time, struggle leaves its imprint not just on the body, but on the soul. In the ancient civilization where the healer and warrior once walked, survival was the teacher, and every hardship etched lessons into their hearts. Life was raw and immediate. Hunger sharpened awareness, pain forged resilience, and loss whispered the fragile truth of existence. They learned that the world did not bend to desire, and that courage and adaptation were not mere virtues, but necessities. Every scar, every tear, every night spent under the cold stars revealed a deeper understanding. Survival was not simply enduring, but transforming, growing stronger in harmony with the rhythms of life. The healer, with her hands gentle yet steadfast, learned that knowledge alone was insufficient. She had to trust her instincts, listen to the subtle signs in leaves and rivers, to the murmurs of the wind, and to the quiet heartbeat of the world around her. The warrior, with his strength and skill, realized that brute force was hollow without wisdom and foresight. Together, they navigated floods, wildfires, and marauders, discovering that survival depended not only on what they could do alone, but on what they could accomplish together. In those moments, their love was not a distraction, but a guiding light, a force that sharpened their senses, quickened their reflexes, and deepened their resolve. The world demanded vigilance, but it also rewarded courage infused with compassion. Even as fate separated them, the echoes of those lessons endured. Across millennia, their souls carried the imprints of struggle, the memory of challenges faced hand in hand. In the modern world, the strangers who now inhabit those ancient bodies are drawn together by an invisible thread, sensing the weight of unspoken history in fleeting moments. A chance meeting at a library, the brush of hands at a crowded gallery, a shared glance at the reflection of moonlight in a quiet river, all of these awaken déjà vu, a gentle reminder that survival is not only about physical endurance, but about the enduring connection of the heart. The modern world tests them in subtler ways: ambitions, doubts, the turbulence of human emotion, the shadows of past relationships, and the incessant pressures of daily life. Yet each obstacle echoes the ancient lessons. When one falters, the other offers steadiness. When fear creeps in, they find courage in shared trust. Every challenge becomes a mirror, reflecting the wisdom of their past. Survival is not a solitary journey, but a shared odyssey of growth, understanding, and adaptation. Love, like life itself, is a teacher. It demands resilience, reflection, and above all, remembrance. In dreams, they traverse the landscapes of forgotten temples, their hands touching stone walls scorched by sacred flames, the wind carrying whispers of long, lost rituals. They hear echoes of their past lives, cries of joy, shouts of warning, the laughter of children who no longer walk the earth. And within these visions, they recognize a profound truth: struggle is not punishment, it is the sculptor of the soul. The trials they faced, the separations endured, the moments of despair, all conspired to shape them into beings capable of deep empathy, unwavering courage, and a love that transcends lifetimes. Under starlit skies, both ancient and modern, they find themselves reflecting on the eternal rhythm of life. The healer's touch in the present carries the wisdom of 1,000 lifetimes spent nurturing and preserving life. The warrior's protective instincts manifest as gentle acts of care, the courage honed through millennia now channeled into emotional presence and steadfast support. And they understand, finally, that the essence of survival is not simply to outlast the storms of the world, but to allow these trials to awaken the best within, the strength to love fully, the clarity to see beyond fear, the humility to honor the sacredness of every soul. Love, as they come to realize, is the ultimate survival mechanism, not in the sense of possession or control, but in the endurance of connection across time and space. Each glance, each shared breath, each whispered word becomes a reaffirmation of what their souls have known all along. Survival is more than flesh and bone. It is the resilience of the spirit, the courage to embrace both suffering and joy, and the sacred duty to remember and honor the bonds that define us. In the final moments, the healer and warrior, in their modern incarnations, recognize that the echoes of struggle, family, and survival converge in a luminous truth. Life's greatest triumphs are not measured by avoidance of pain, but by the depth of love carried through it. They are not simply surviving, they are awakening, remembering, and living with the grace of those who have faced centuries of challenge and emerged whole. The sacred flame of their ancient past burns softly in the present, illuminating the timeless revelation that love and survival are inseparable. The soul that remembers, that dares to endure, is the soul that truly lives.